Stocks notched some gains led by heavyweights amid uncertainty over policy actions by Donald Trump after he takes charge as the US president. Telecom and financials see big gains while healthcare and FMCG drag.
Kotak Mahindra Bank scores on all counts in the third quarter with margins, asset quality and business growth surpassing street expectations. The brokerages upgrade the stock.
Wipro grows faster than expected in Q3 and achieves its margin aspiration of 17 to 17.5%. A revision in capital return policy to 70% or more from 45 to 50% also instills confidence. The stock climbs.
CNBC-TV18 learns that the government is considering a waiver of AGR dues from Vodafone Idea and Bharti Airtel. The government may waive the AGR penalty and interest dues. The move comes on the back of a 2024 Supreme Court ruling that upheld the government's AGR demand.
Donald Trump is all set to return to White House as the 47th US president tonight. Reports suggest a flurry of executive orders are set to be unveiled in his first few days in office.
Good afternoon, you're with us here on Halftime Report this Monday morning. A complete contrast to what the screen was last Monday. But before we get to the markets, we have an important corporate conversation lined up, and we're focusing on the auto sector as electric vehicles take center stage at the Bharat Mobility Global Expo of 2025. Our colleague Parikshit Luthra caught up with Girish Wagh, who is the executive director of Tata Motors, to discuss their latest EV launches in the commercial vehicle space and the outlook for the same. Listen in.
Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 is a very important milestone for us. We are also launching our repositioning of the brand as Better Always. Some context of that, I think Tata Motors Commercial Vehicles is a pioneer in commercial vehicles and part of Tata Group's endeavor into nation building. The brand has been very well respected and trusted. At the same time, I think the young and aspirational India is changing, the expectations are changing, and we are also seeing some new mega trends, whether it is sustainability, digital and artificial intelligence and safety. With all these requirements being there, now it is calling for sharpening our value proposition to give more success with agility and growth mindset to the customers, and that's what is Better Always for us.
All right.
The manifestation of that Better Always is in 14 products that we have showcased at Bharat Mobility Global Expo. And this actually encompasses all the technologies from CNG, LNG, diesel, biodiesel, biofuel, battery electric as well as hydrogen ICE. So there's a range of vehicles in trucks and buses from 1 ton to 55 tons.
So you're trying to say Tata Motors has an answer for everything in commercial vehicles if there is demand. Let's begin with this. This is the Prima E55S. It's an electric tractor.
Yes.
It's already in the markets?
So this is ready for commercial launch now. So we have been talking to some of our customers in sectors like steel and cement. Right, so they are looking at decarbonizing their scope 3 emissions, and this tractor makes a lot of sense to help them in that direction.
Okay, so you also have a big black tipper there. That's a diesel. That's not a electric vehicle. But how is it important in terms of growing your market share?
See, I think India...
And my camera person Akhilesh will show us those pictures as well.
Yes, so see, India is growing even in deep mining to help us in infrastructure, right? And there we are coming up with a very heavy-duty tipper, which this deep mining operation otherwise is done by imported vehicles today. So this is with a completely new generation 8.5 liter Cummins engine with auto shift transmission. So this will change the deep mining operation in the country. This is also ready for commercial launch.
Okay, so when are these launches expected? Both of the portable tractor, electric tractor, and also electric tractor and the tipper?
So both these we will start seeing in operation in 6 months' time.
In 6 months' time, they're getting launched. So what do we have here, sir? We're seeing a series of buses and trucks by the Tata Group. This is a 28-ton vehicle. Could you tell us more about it?
So this is a hydrogen internal combustion engine vehicle. So the government has also come up with a hydrogen mission plan, and as a part of that, we are happy to be awarded the hydrogen pilot, wherein we are going to work with IOCL and going to run the hydrogen internal combustion engine trucks on 3 routes: Delhi NCR, Ahmedabad Rajkot, and Mumbai Pune. So this will be done over a period of 12 to 18 months to get a lot of information about the entire value chain of hydrogen in terms of green hydrogen manufacturing, distribution, as also running the vehicles and help to refine the approach.
Okay, so what is the cost of hydrogen as a fuel right now? If you had to fuel this truck and use this, what is the current cost in the international market, and how much would it cost in India?
See, it's upwards of $5-6, right, as of now. But we know that as the requirement goes up and the scale goes up, this cost will certainly come down.
Okay, and what about here? You've got the Ultra E12.
Yes, so this is one of the 6 electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles that we have introduced. So this is meant for hub-to-spoke electric transportation, right? So this comes with more than 250 kilometers range. One of our battery electric offering in the Auto Expo.
What's the current product delivery pipeline that you already have?
So I think in the products that we have showcased at Auto Expo, more than half of those are ready for commercial launch within next 6 months, whereas few others are concepts that we are testing, right? So I think what we see here is real capability and something which is going to come into the market and make a difference immediately.
Okay. Now, in terms of how much of your portfolio has now been electrified, how much would that be in terms of percentage?
So we are already having electrification in buses and small commercial vehicles, right? In terms of volumes, the penetration is still in single digits. But now with the launch of electrification in heavy commercial vehicles as well as intermediate light medium vehicles and the introduction of PM E-Drive, which is on the anvil, I think we should start seeing this penetration going up.
Okay. How big could the government's tender for PM E-Drive be?
So PM E-Drive is supporting the electrification in trucks and ambulances. It won't be tender based, so it will be helping the customers reduce their acquisition cost. The tender business will be more in PM E-Bus Seva, and that's where I think we have been working on with the government on 2 expectations. One is the payment security mechanism. The second one is asset light model. So there has been a good progress in these discussions. Meanwhile, we have now more than 3,000 buses running on electric buses running on Indian roads, cumulatively covering 26 crore kilometers. So there's a lot of experience under our belt. We have also refined our operational model. So we are very well placed now. Once these 2 requirements get addressed, then participate aggressively in the new tenders.
Okay. Is there any room for more capacity setting, capex allotment for commercial vehicle push?
So as far as buses are concerned, I think we have increased our capacity in the past 18 months, so we are very well placed. As far as electrification in other segments, I think we are keeping our capacities flexible, so as soon as and when the requirement goes up, we should be in a position to produce.
All right, interesting conversation there. Let's get you Growth Code, an initiative by Growth and CNBC-TV18 designed to provide you with valuable trading strategies. This week, CNBC-TV18's Nigel D'Souza sat down with pro trader Rajesh Bai, the managing director of Cross Seas Capital, to understand if algos are a right product for retail investors. Listen in.
Do you believe, Rajesh, algo trading is an appropriate investment tool for retail investors?
What it cannot do is probably not identify good companies, fundamentally sound companies. For that, you need the good old-fashioned analytics. What it does is, based on the price movement relationships that you can backtest over a period of time, you can with some kind of a certainty predict what is likely to happen in the future. And what algorithmic trading also does is, it takes the emotion out of the trade so that your stop losses are adhered to, and these trades take place automatically, including the booking of profit and stop losses. So it's more of an exercise that you do when you're trading. Trading is always on some kind of a leverage, and you need that discipline. And what algorithmic trading does is it forces that discipline in your trading behavior.
Well, what about the potential advantages and drawbacks of algo trading for retail investors in comparison to traditional methods of investing?
I think the starting point should be to actually define who the real retail is. Is it a guy with a low net worth? Is it individuals? Is it any other kind of an entity with a certain capability. So before we get into algorithmic trading for retail, I think it would be very, very important to understand what segment of retail are we trying to talk about. And I think it would be wise for SEBI to first define what they consider as retail and what kind of regulations with respect to algorithmic trading that they want for this segment of retail.
Welcome back. Firmly in the green is the index, 150 points higher on the Nifty, nearing levels of 23,350. Last week's high is now come into focus, which is around levels of 23,390. And it was the Nifty Bank that is leading the gains in today's session, 750 points higher on the index, and courtesy, of course, Kotak Mahindra Bank, 10% higher on the stock there. His last 4 years, single-digit returns, be it positive or negative, and today it's gained that much in one single session. But the stock that has been in focus over the last 30 minutes or so has been United Breweries, and that's because the beer maker said that it will resume supplies to the Telangana Beverages Corporation, and Mangalam has been tracking the developments there on that.
Well, if you remember, Hormaz, on January 8th itself, there was, towards the end of trade, we got a notification coming from United Brewery saying that they will stop supply to Telangana on account of pending dues and no price increases coming to beer. And as a result of which, the stock saw a sharp knock. But right now, the company has gone ahead and said that they have decided to resume supply of beer to Telangana with immediate effect. And the biggest reason for that is the talks with the Telangana government have been constructive. So the government of Telangana has ensured the company and the industry on pricing issues as well as outstanding payments, two of the major concerns because of which the company had stopped supply itself. So what are the implications of this move? When the move, was earlier when they decided to stop, the biggest implication was it would be near-term EBITDA positive and also volume negative. So now that reverses. One is that there will be volume jump that will come by because Telangana contributes about 15 to 17% of the company's volume. And the second thing is that it won't be an EBITDA negative, because the key to track now here will be the assurance from the government has come. When does the actual dispersal of dues happen, and when does the price increase happen itself? Because remember, the company is currently making EBITDA losses in Telangana, and the Telangana government owes the company about 700 crores. So to that, we, our colleague Sudarshan reached out to the government sources in Telangana, and the Telangana government has assured on a price hike decision very soon. How soon is that? The next 30 to 45 days. Were that to happen, that would be a big positive. Why? Because the next 30 to 45 days implies somewhere at the start of March itself, they will get that price hike, and the impact of that would benefit the entire summer season. Had this been later than that, then the summer sales would have been impacted. Secondly, on outstanding dues, they will be cleared in installments over the next 12 to 13 months. So that is a positive as well. On both these developments, we've written to the company. We are awaiting a formal comment coming in from them. But the fact is that this is a step in the right direction. The company has resumed, supply, so volume positive. And over the next 30 to 45 days, if the price hike does come by as well, that would be a EBITDA positive as well. And understandably, the stock is rejoicing on that move.
The fizz returning to United Breweries after the development. The kick returning. Being teetotalers ourselves, it's very difficult to give an adjective to such. But still, 5% higher on United Breweries. We'll take a short break. But before we do that, here's some good news for our viewers. India's business news leader is now just a click away. Introducing CNBC-TV18's all-new app, where you get instant access to breaking news, in-depth articles, and financial world updates right at your fingertips. You can download the app right away from your Google or Apple stores.
Well, it's a good-looking screen right now as we look at the F&O setup at midday itself on halftime report. The market's moving towards the higher end of today's trading range. So the Nifty was mildly in the green, and thereafter it saw a big surge holding around that 23,350 mark above that level itself. So doing extremely well. Let's see whether there is some more short covering, which is likely or not, given the sort of shorts in the system itself. The good part is it's led by the Nifty Bank, up almost 1.65%. On the Friday's trading session, it was the Nifty Bank which pressurized the Nifty along with the IT stocks. But now we have, the Nifty Bank powering the Nifty ahead, up with around 150 points. So look at some of the stocks which are contributing on the way up. We have Kotak Mahindra Bank, we have Wipro, some of the financials doing extremely well as well, Bajaj Finance, and then we have names like SBI as well, doing their bit for the frontline index. But what are the others, that you're looking at in terms of levels? You look at some of the options on the way up. There is some sort of support which has come by as the markets moved higher. Put writers have moved higher from 23,000 to 23,200, a premium of 80 rupees, telling you now that the support has moved higher to around 23,100 itself, and also 23,200, because the 23,300 put writers are fairly active as well. So that's good news for the bulls. Supports coming higher for the market. Now, the question is, where does resistance come in, and at what point does short covering come by for the markets? 23,400 call writers are still fairly active, about 500 crore shares in open interest out there for a premium of close to 100 rupees, telling you levels closer to 23,500 will be extremely crucial to cross for further short covering. And that coincides with the 100-day moving average as well, which is at around 23,500. The ferocity of the fall over the last few trading sessions has been such that the 20-day moving average itself is at close to 23,600. So an excursion towards that, once the Nifty crosses the 100-day moving average, cannot perhaps be ruled out. But for all of that, the Nifty has to cross that 23,500 mark sustainably. What are the stocks we're looking at? We just spoke about United Breweries. A lot of long positions added on that one. CG Power is the other one, which is sitting with a gain of almost 4%. A lot of long positions added on that one too.
130 points away from 23,500 is the Nifty, building on to the gains now at the highest point of the day, 160 points higher on the index. Take a short break. Up next, we connect with Rakesh Nair, who is the Executive Director at Supreme Petrochem, to discuss their third quarter numbers. Stay tuned. Back on the other side. Back with us here on Halftime Report. Just before we get to the management of Supreme Petrochem, the Nifty is at the highest point of the day now, 160 points higher on the index. 23,360 is where it stands, and there are plenty of other movers in the broader markets as well. Credit Access Grameen is one of them after some pressure that it witnessed last week. That stock is up 10.5% in today's session. Vodafone Idea, that was at one point up in a 15% upper circuit, has cooled off from the highs, but still holding on to gains of around 9.75% there as well. So at almost 10 rupees now is Vodafone Idea, still below that FPO price of 11 rupees. Of course, Tejas Networks is up 7%. Kalyan Jewelers is up 7% though, after the battering that it took last week. The stock still in the F&O band today.
So, it'll be very interesting to see where it goes from here, because it's seeing a lot of short covering. Whether it continues to see some short covering or not is the big question. And now with today's up move, the stock is back above that price at which the promoters bought at 535 rupees. Remember, on Friday it was battered out of shape down and closer to that 500 mark as well. So there's been a bounce from lower levels. The question is when and how. To what extent does this bounce sustain? Because if this does not sustain, that it only gives a lot more fuel to shorts to go ahead and sell the stock after a heady downtick that we've seen on the stock itself. But there are earnings that we're watching out for.
Earnings indeed, and as promised, we get to the management of Supreme Petrochem. It was a steady third quarter for them. However, margins continue to remain under pressure. Now we're joined by Rakesh Nair, who is the Executive Director at the company, who is joining in. Mr. Nair, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll start off with the margin question, right? Because historically, you've been doing margins of around 12%, but as of the first 9 months of the year, you're still in the high single-digit figure, somewhere close to 9%. What's the outlook on the margins? By when do you expect a double-digit return as of now?
Good afternoon. In the current quarter, the margins are down as compared to the previous year because the raw material prices were on the declining trend in this quarter. The styrene monomer, which is our main raw material, the prices have dropped by almost 10%. They are now kind of stabilizing with these crude prices also going up. So they are now stabilizing. And as far as our margins are concerned, very difficult to give you a guidance on that. I can only talk about the volumes. The volumes we would be doing in the current year around 8 to 9% growth overall for all the total volumes of the company. The margins totally depend upon the international price trends because the prices get certainly determined by the landed prices and then our grades and our specialities and all that. So with the global trends being what they are today, the very difficult to predict the margins.
All right, you spoke about two things here. One, you said that there is some stability in prices as crude prices have begun to inch slightly higher. So if you could give us a sense that in the very near term, we're not asking for a full year, outlook because the things are so variable. In the very near term, do we see margins stay at the current levels or could there be slight improvement from here? That's point number one. And you answer that, we'll come back on the volumes in just a bit.
See, as I said, margins are totally determined by the global deltas. The polystyrene essentially is a polymer which is again a commodity business. So the styrene prices are stabilizing with the crude prices inching up. So I expect, yes, the margins might improve a bit, but then it will be all dependent upon the global margins.
Got that. And the second part is on the volumes. You said that you are hoping to end this year with 8 to 9% volume growth on an annual basis versus the last year. But,
yes,
despite a 21% growth in the third quarter, the requirement for the fourth quarter to even be at flat levels versus last year is 25%. So are you assuring the street that your volumes in the fourth quarter would be over 35% for it to actually be 8 to 9% above last year?
See, the last year our volumes what they were. We were around 320,000 tons or so, and we are expecting that we should be closing around 350,000 tons this year. That would be around 355,000 tons. So that should be around 8 to 9% for us.
No. So first 9 months, what has the cumulative volume been for you?
The first 9 months, our growth has been around 13%. We see the exports are down. As I explained in the previous quarter also, that the exports are down. We are working on our exports, but the freight rates are very, very high still. They continue to remain high. So the volumes what were coming in from the exports, they would not be the same as the previous year.
Are the freight rates still high in this quarter as well, Mr. Nair?
Yes.
What's the situation looking like on the ground, not only for freight rates, but in terms of demand in general as well, be it for domestic and for exports?
The freight rates for exports continue to remain high. As far as the demand is concerned, demand is there in Europe and other places, but then with the freight rates high, very difficult to compete there then. And as far as the domestic is concerned, yes, the domestic demand would continue to grow. With the OEMs doing better, the demand would grow this quarter.
Right. What happens to the ABS plant, which starts in the next year? How much does that start to contribute to your overall revenues?
On a full capacity basis, that should add roughly around 1,000 crores to our revenue.
And you are on track to commission it by the first quarter of FY26?
Yes, we are. The product would be out in the first quarter of 26.
And what would be the glide path of utilization, capacity utilization there?
We expect in the first year we should be doing around 50% of that. And the second year onwards, we will be fully loading the plant.
And what about the styrenics complex that you are looking to set up in Haryana, sir?
The pre-project work is going on there because all the approvals, environment clearances, environment impact assessment studies and all that is going on. And we would be working on that maybe towards the end of this financial year.
And when does that come on
That is the
stream?
26. When I say end of the financial year, that will be end of the financial year 26. Yeah.
So you mean by end of FY26 the plant comes on stream, or you expect the work to be completed by the end of FY26?
If the groundwork will commission, I would say that by the third or fourth quarter of the 26, the project work will actually commence there.
All right. And final question, just before we let you go, you've given us a sense of what you're targeting in terms of volume. So this year, would you have any early prediction for what you're looking at in the next year?
I think we would be doing the similar kind of growth on our existing products, and additional volumes will be coming to us from the ABS.
All right, Mr. Nair, thank you so much for sparing time and taking us through the quarter gone by. Wish you good luck for the rest of the year as well. The management there of Supreme Petrochem, the stock currently trading with losses of around 0.5%. We'll take a short break. More on the markets on the other side. Stay tuned.
Greetings from Davos. It is day 2 of the World Economic Forum. I'm Shireen Bhan. Don't get confused. It looks like we're almost at the middle of the night, but we're not. It's early morning here. It's -5 degrees and work has already started. Of course, overnight, the headlines continue to be dominated by President Trump. Remember, the countdown has begun now for President Trump to take oath. Of course, the ceremony has now moved indoors on account of freezing temperatures. That is what the Trump team has had to say. Well, what we've seen, not just ahead of the Trump inauguration, is signals coming in on how the Trump administration intends to deal with TikTok. Remember, TikTok went dark in the US to comply with the Sunday ban, but overnight it's back on. And it's back on because President Trump has said that he will pass an executive order when he comes to office to give a reprieve to TikTok. And of course, we will have to wait to see what the eventual fate will be, whether it will have to find American buyers. Who will the American buyers be? There's an Indian angle there. Perplexity AI is reportedly one of the companies that is in the fray for a possible bid for TikTok. So all of that is going to be something that we will have to watch out for. The other big story overnight is the Trump meme coin and the way that that has skyrocketed. Of course, it's also bringing back questions about cryptocurrencies and also what kind of price and value action we're seeing as far as this particular class is concerned, and whether investors need to be cautious while looking at this. And of course, that has been capturing headlines overnight, the kind of surge that we have seen of the Trump meme coin. Of course, it has got industry divided, bankers divided, and that debate, of course, on cryptocurrencies has been ongoing. You heard from Borge Brende, the president of the World Economic Forum, on CNBC-TV18 in our interview yesterday about Trump's address here to the World Economic Forum. That's slated for Thursday, where President Trump will address the World Economic Forum for the 3rd time. In fact, he is the only sitting U.S. president who has spoken at the World Economic Forum. Now thrice, once he does speak on Thursday, it will be his 3rd time speaking at the World Economic Forum. It is going to also be an interactive session. Select CEOs will be speaking to President Trump, so that's going to be something to watch out for. It is a big day for us on CNBC TV18. We've got a whole host of interviews lined up, global faces, to talk about what the outlook is for 2025. We will, of course, be joined by the president of NASDAQ. Remember, the global markets have had a significant 2024. What is the outlook for the year ahead? We'll talk to Tal Cohen of NASDAQ. That's coming up in a short while from now. Don't miss our conversation with Ian Bremmer of the Eurasia Group. He, of course, has been talking about the fact that the world finds itself in a geopolitical recession, but with President Trump in office, what could that mean? That is something that we will talk to Ian Bremmer about as well. We've got also the Deputy CEO and the Global CFO of IKEA, of the Inca Group, joining us. Of course, IKEA has been a committed investor in India over the last few years. They are setting up new stores in India, but there has, of course, been an expansion in losses specifically for the India business. So we'll talk to IKEA about what the outlook is for consumption and for the India business in 2025. Of course, we will be joined by Ravi Kumar, the CEO of Cognizant, has been on a mission to turn things around for the company. More tech conversations. We've got Frank D'Souza, who used to head Cognizant, also joining us, and now Frank is investing in tech companies, and he's made about 11 odd investments already in companies that are based in different parts, largely in the US. So we'll talk to Frank about the outlook for IT services companies, but also the kinds of investments that he is making. We've got plenty more lined up for you through the course of the day. And of course, the conversations are only just getting started, and they are around AI, as I've been pointing out through the course of the last 2 days here on CNBC-TV18. As you can see, it's still very, very dark. We're just about walking to our studio to get things off the ground this morning here. It is a cold morning, but it promises to brighten up, so to speak, quite literally over the next few hours. Of course, the Indian delegation, lots of ministers are already here. You will hear from many of them on CNBC-TV18. Chirag Paswan will join us, and we'll also be joined by Ashwini Vaishnav, and Smriti Irani, of course, has been a regular in Davos over the last few years. She's here this time around, not as part of the government delegation, but she is here for the work that she's doing with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as CII, for the We Lead lounge, and of course on the issue of gender parity. So we will be speaking with her as well. Today we also have Brian Moynihan of Bank of America, and we're crossing the Bank of America lounge right here on the promenade. Brian Moynihan, incidentally, completes 15 years in office as CEO of Bank of America. So what's the outlook for the bank? What does he make of India? What does he make of Trump? Where does he see interest rates? All of that and more in our conversation with Brian Moynihan of Bank of America, coming up on CNBC TV18. It is going to be a day where sessions kick off in the Congress Center as well. Remember, there's about 300 sessions scheduled here between today and Friday, which is when the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum will draw to a close. These are typically sessions where you register and you can participate. Many of them are available online if you choose to see them, but different sectors, different issues, from, of course, reshoring and what that means in terms of supply chain diversification, to AI and emerging technologies, to healthcare. All of that will be up for discussion. In fact, speaking of healthcare, let me just recap the very interesting conversation that we had with the head of the World Economic Forum's Healthcare Committee, Shyam Bishen. He does the work for the World Economic Forum for Healthcare, and WEF, in partnership with some of its other stakeholders, will be setting up the very first digital health activator in India. That's going to be coming up, and we will see that being launched in India shortly. I think in about a month or two, that is going to be off the ground. And they really do believe that what we are seeing at this point in time in terms of using technology to provide access via telemedicine to improve diagnostics and innovate as far as diagnostics are concerned, all of that are likely to be issues where the WEF believes there can be learnings from India, and that is something that they are going to work on in partnership with their Indian stakeholders. So the first digital health activator the World Economic Forum sets up will be set up in India. So that's something that we got from Shyam Bishen. The other interesting conversation that's happening here is around energy transition, and while there is concern that the speed towards making the transition has slowed down, there is also hope and confidence that we will not see a setback or too much of a setback as far as the energy transition goals are concerned. But what happens with the explosion of data centers, what that does to energy consumption, how it reshapes energy consumption, what AI can potentially do to actually cut down on energy use. Can it offset? Can the two be offset? Those are some of the big questions, and we had a conversation with Roberta Boca of the World Economic Forum. And what's interesting to see is how nuclear power seems to be making a comeback, especially when we talk about the need for energy demand in the context of AI and data centers, small nuclear modular reactors. That is something that many companies at this point in time and many countries at this point in time are looking at as well. So those have been some of the conversations that have happened overnight. As I pointed out, the big story, of course, is going to be President Trump's inauguration later tonight, Monday night, India time. And that's going to be the focus here in Davos as well. We've got plenty of reactions lined up on what the Trump era could mean for the world, how we can navigate the markets as well as the currency and commodity trade, all of that and more coming up for you on CNBC TV18. Stay tuned. We are going to take a break and come back with a lot more.
Welcome back, and joining us on the show now is Aishwarya Gupta of Polygon Labs. Aishwarya, hi, thank you so much for joining us. Well, big news clearly coming in for you guys and for the Indians as well, and congratulations on that, as Jio Platforms enters a strategic relationship or partnership, as we understand, with Polygon Labs. A lot has been talked, said, written about this on social media, but what better to hear it directly from you on what exactly this collaboration, what does it bring to Indians as overall?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me here. I think one of the biggest things that we have been able to achieve is like going out and working with like Reliance from the past almost 1.5, 2 years. And like from that perspective, like going out and creating this whole Web3 focused thought process. And like one of the things that we have been seeing with Reliance is like they have been like really very forward looking into like what are the things that we can go out and do together. And the partnership that we've essentially just entered into with Reliance is majorly going to be working towards where we work closely with Reliance to enable some of the products that they already have to add Web3 capabilities, which essentially enables a lot of people who are going out and using the current products and everything of Reliance to be able to go out and experience the Web3 benefits without actually going too deep into how the whole Web3 ecosystem works and everything like that. So I think that is like one of the biggest part from the partnership on what we are doing and what we are planning to do more in the future.
Aishwarya, when you say that you've been working with Reliance for some time, what really is this some time? Because we heard about the release or this collaboration only last week.
Yeah, so I think though we heard it in the last week, we have been working closely with the teams for almost 1.5 years. The idea was majorly on like creating value for the users of Reliance. And that is where I think what we were doing with Reliance was like trying to go out and work on various use cases, which essentially like having all those conversations on whether this adds value to their customers and whether they would be benefiting from it. And also like how we can go out and ensure all the things that Reliance wants to do is from the perspective bringing an impact within India. So the major part was like kind of going out and having those discussions. Like Reliance has been really forward looking into the perspective of like how they can use blockchain as a technology to evolve or to add capability to some of these existing platforms and use cases that they have. I think that was majorly in the past time that we were doing. Now, like a couple of products that are now getting really close into what are the various things that they will start doing is something that we are focusing on now. But that has been like the overall conversation on like how we get these capabilities within the Jio ecosystem platforms into the on the blockchain.
Aishwarya, what you're telling us is that some of the products that already are with Jio, we are adding Web3 capabilities to it. Until there, I understand. Would it also lead it all to Jio users wherein they can use Polygon Labs as a platform to develop something that they would want, or we haven't reached there yet?
So the way it would work is like the products which are where the capabilities are getting added, all those products basically would be running on Polygon. And so users would be using Polygon, but essentially they would not realize this. So this is something similar where we have done it with other companies like Flipkart, where user doesn't know that they are interacting with the blockchain, which is Polygon, but they're still using it in the front end.
Fair point. That talk to us also about there is an intersection of AI and crypto as we see it right now. So when it comes to Web3, what are we all pushing here? And the other point really is, and while we're talking about blockchain and we're talking about Web3, we're not really talking about cryptocurrencies here. And that actually becomes the part and parcel as a token.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the latter part, when you say like we on the cryptocurrency part, so the moment you start using a public blockchain, you need to go out and use the gas fees, which essentially is in the crypto tokens itself. So the way I look at it is like for even for the platforms who are going out globally and using public blockchains, the crypto part is automatically coming as a default. And from a perspective of that, that is really important. And uh, from coming to your first question, which is more towards the AI side, I think one of the biggest things that is happening is like a lot of automation or a lot of things. So I'll give you a very simple example on like crypto and AI. Think of, let's say, you going out and you wanting to take a home loan today. And today what happens is we have to go to every bank and ask those banks what are the interest rates, what exactly are the terms and everything like that. On the blockchain, one of the very beautiful things that can happen through AI agents is you can just ask these AI agents, or you can just deploy these AI agents from the bank side. And anytime someone wants to go out and draw a loan, these AI agents actually come and interact with the user from the backend perspective, giving what exactly is the biggest benefit or which is the best loan that users can get. And that is something which needs the blockchain, because all these things can be very transparently built on top of blockchain. And that is where I think use cases such as this would be becoming one of the very normal things in the AI and the crypto side.
Point taken. Aishwarya, I have a final question. And just going back to what you said, that when you use blockchain and when you start using Web3, cryptocurrency or token becomes just an integral part of it. Are we calling this cryptocurrency anything right now? Because there have been various speculation on that as well.
I cannot comment on that basically because like we are still kind of finalizing on what are the products and everything like that. So, but yeah, I think the way we look at it is like there would be some use cases which would leverage tokens. How they're used is something that is still to be disclosed, that is still to be finalized, and that is where I will leave it.
We take that point. A lot of curiosity around that one. Thank you for answering all those things. We will wrap up on this new, edition of Halftime Report with the news that the market is holding on to its gains. 150 points on the Nifty. In the last few minutes, we've seen a big surge come by on a name like United Spirits. Remember, was under pressure at the start of this week on account of a leadership change that came by with Hina Nagarajan deciding to move on. And currently, the stock has moved to the high point of trade. So keep an eye out on United Spirits. We'll take your leave on that note and have the Business Lunch team take over on the market action after this break.